This is macOS Ken.
India changes its apping mind, a couple of Apple designers take off, and software updates of various sorts. I hope you brought your attitude today. I know I did. It is Thursday, the 4th of December. What? I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by OpenCase. MagSafe for iPhone perfected. Build your own holiday bundle and save at theopencase.com. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSken. What happens when a company as big as Apple stands up for what it collectively sees as right? In India this week, it gets its way. TechCrunch says India has backed away from its plan to force smartphone makers to pre-install a government app on all devices, following backlash and mounting concerns that the mandate would expand state access to users' devices and weaken privacy protections. It has been tough to pin down details on this story. Earlier in the week, it was reported that India planned to require the installation of the government-owned cybersecurity app Sankar Sati. While that announcement had not been made officially, at least one member of India's telecoms regulating body was on CNBC saying that the mandate was coming in the next couple of days. Though nothing had been stated officially, reports behind the scenes said the government had actually already made its demand, giving smartphone makers like Apple, Samsung, Xiaomi, and others 90 days to comply. The order must have been made official at some point, though that bit of news passed me by, likely drowned out by Apple's reported pushback against it. Though the company said nothing publicly, a piece on the website for the Business Standard had a couple of anonymous industry sources indicating that Apple did not plan to comply with the directive and would tell the government it does not follow such mandates anywhere in the world, as they raise a host of privacy and security issues for the company's iOS ecosystem. A day later, India said, never mind. The Sankar Sati app has been out for a while. The Indian government says it's already been downloaded 14 million times. Interestingly, downloads spiked over 500,000 this week, likely because of all the talk of the application. While 14.6 million is small compared to the number of smartphones roaming India today, it's apparently big enough to say that's plenty big. TechCrunch had India's telecoms ministry saying Wednesday, given Sankar Sati's increasing acceptance, the government has decided not to make pre-installation mandatory for mobile manufacturers. Have they, though? I mean, yeah, probably, but once again, not officially. In its piece on Wednesday, TechCrunch had a couple of anonymous insiders saying the government has not yet issued an official notification to smartphone makers reflecting the withdrawal, and manufacturers are still waiting for formal instructions. What part did Apple's pushback play? Okay, we don't actually know that Apple pushed back. Publicly, the company didn't say anything on the issue. Still, most seem to have decided that Apple did push back, and that correlation does imply causation in this case. India blinks, won't require Apple to pre-install a state app on iPhone, says a headline from Apple Insider. Another from 9to5Mac reads, after Apple refusal, Indian government completes U-turn on mandatory iPhone app. In fairness, those are Apple-centric sites, and there is nothing inaccurate in those headlines. Apple did, reportedly, push back, and India did, reportedly, change course later. Apple, it has been decided, stood up for, well, it pushed back, let's say. Maybe it stood up for what was right, or maybe it stood up for what was right for Apple, and that just happened to coincide with what was right for user privacy. We don't know. Seeming to think the company was standing up for good, Ben Lovejoy at 9 to 5 Mac wrote a whole piece wondering where this kind of resolve on Apple's part is when it comes to China. To China. Ben Lovejoy is worried about Apple not standing up to China, which doesn't have a court system and a 250-year history that would or should back Apple the way the U.S. does. Yeah, I know, China has a longer history than 250 years. I'm saying our 250-year history, our slightly younger constitution, and our court system would or should have Apple's back if Apple had its back and leaned on it. Tim Cook said 8 years ago, a company is a collection of human beings and part of the fabric of our society. A company like ours has a culture, it has values, and it has a voice. Apple has spoken out and will continue to speak out for what we believe as a company, and the positions we take will continue to guide our actions. That was Tim Cook in 2017. I wonder sometimes whether he wishes he had said, I mean sometimes, or when we feel like it, or when it's easy. It's not that I disagree with Lovejoy. Ideally, Apple should stand stronger against a lot of what China demands. But the China with which Apple works today is the same China with which Apple started working decades ago. First Amendment rights are being attacked right now here in the U.S. Maybe Apple could stand against those attacks. It's possible it would do wonders. Apple's user interface design lead is leaving Apple for Meta. You may have heard or read about this story, so let me ask you, honest question. Before all of yesterday's stories about the shuffle, could you have told me the name of Apple's user interface design lead without looking? No shade. I know I could not. I've heard Alan Dye's name over the years, though. It's never stuck with me the way other Apple designers like Johnny Ive or Evans Hankey did. Or UX and UI people like Scott Forstall. Anyway, Apple design executive Alan Dye has been poached by Meta in a move Bloomberg calls a major coup. Certainly it's no small thing, though we'll come back to whether calling it a coup is cool. Dye has been the head of Apple's user interface design team since 2015, according to Bloomberg. The piece says Dye most recently oversaw the interface of the Vision Pro headset and a sweeping redesign of Apple's operating systems. Does that mean liquid glass? And if it does, why not say that? Maybe it doesn't fit with the breathless narrative the story seems to want to create. Dye was also central to designing the company's apps, according to the report, as well as the Apple Watch and iPhone X, both of which were a few days ago now. Apple is replacing Dye with longtime designer Stephen LeMay, according to Bloomberg. That news came first from secret sources, though it was later confirmed to Bloomberg by a statement attributed to Apple CEO Tim Cook. Quoting that, Steve LeMay has played a key role in the design of every major Apple interface since 1999. Man, I was partying so much like it was that year. Cook continued, saying LeMay has always set an extraordinarily high bar for excellence and embodies Apple's culture of collaboration and creativity. As for what Dye will do, a piece from Mac Rumors says he'll be leading a new creative studio at Meta, oxymoronic though that may sound. The piece had Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg announcing the new org on Threads, saying the new studio will bring together design, fashion, and technology to define the next generation of our products and experiences. Our idea is to treat intelligence as a new design material and imagine what becomes possible when it is abundant, capable, and human-centered. Ah yes, the intersection of lofty ambition and corporate speak, deep in the heart of buzzwordium. Would that I could take this idea seriously, especially with such passages as, we're entering a new era where AI glasses and other devices will change how we connect with technology and each other. The potential is enormous, but what matters most is making these experiences feel natural and truly centered around people. With this new studio, we're focused on making every interaction thoughtful, intuitive, and built to serve people. Really sounds great, doesn't it? The problem I have, it's Facebook saying it. Also, To Serve Man was a cookbook. Apple designer Billy Sorrentino is joining Dai's new Meta studio. He worked on Liquid Glass with Dai, according to Mac Rumors, so I guess we might as well address whether Dai's hire is the coup Bloomberg claims it is. Over at 6 Colors, Jason Snell's headline speaks volumes. In a major coup for someone, Alan Dai leaves Apple, read the headline. Without making it personal, writes Snell, it feels like any turnover in that group is a good thing, adding that everyone is perhaps better off if some new people step up and a new team is given the opportunity to build their own reputations. So is this a major loss for Apple and a major coup for Meta? Asks Snell rhetorically. He answers his own question saying, I don't see it. Perhaps also not wanting to make it personal, though cutting quickly to the chase. Daring Fireball's John Gruber wrote that he thinks this is the best personnel news at Apple in decades. The way Gruber sees it, Dai's decade-long stint running Apple's software design team has been, on the whole, terrible. And rather than getting better, the problems have been getting worse. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, OpenCase, and their Build Your Own Holiday Bundles. Want to make your old iPhone or somebody else's feel new again this holiday season? OpenCase can make that happen. MagSafe was a thing for years before I had my first MagSafe accessory, my wallet from OpenCase. It seriously changed my thinking on what an iPhone case should be and do. Sure, MagSafe's been out for a while, but OpenCase really makes it better. The opening on the back of the case gives accessories a bit of a lip, keeping them from sliding or shearing off. It does that for the OpenCase wallet, chargers, pop holders, as well as a ton of third-party MagSafe accessories. They're not locking you into a system, they're just keeping your stuff in place. It's a gift that'll be used year-round, and you can get it for less. Build your own holiday bundle for someone on your list, or for yourself, or both. They're running a special right now at theopencase.com. Buy 2 items, get 10% off. Buy 3 items, get 15% off. Or buy 4 items or more and get 20% off. Couple of cases in a wallet, a case and a couple of chargers maybe. Build your bundle with any number of products in any combination. Sale items can be included in the bundle as well, giving you savings on top of savings, but only till the middle of this month. This offer ends on the 15th of December. Make your iPhone or someone else's new this holiday season with OpenCase. Build your holiday bundle and save at theopencase.com. It is MagSafe for iPhone perfected at theopencase.com. I know I said yesterday that I could go for a Tab or a Fresca, but maybe an RC would hit the spot. Apple seeded a few of those, though. These are release candidates, not Royal Crown Colas. A piece from Mac Rumors says Apple on Wednesday seeded release candidates of iOS and iPadOS 26.2 to developers and public testers. Other posts from the same site say the same for version 26.2 of macOS Tahoe, watchOS, and tvOS. One piece actually says Apple did the same for visionOS 26.2, though if it did, That would just be for developers. Unless there's been a change, both drastic and unreported, Apple still doesn't do the public beta thing for the headset. All of the updates are expected to see public release sometime next week. OS builds weren't Apple's only software moves midweek. Another piece from Mac Rumors says Apple expanded a few of its health features to a few more countries on Wednesday. According to the piece, hypertension notifications from Apple Watch went live yesterday for Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Vietnam. Hearing tests and hearing aid functionality in the iOS AirPods combo are up and running for Bahrain, Costa Rica, and Paraguay. Hearing aid functionality with automatic conversation boost expanded to a number of countries in and around Europe, including Austria, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Ireland, Norway, Poland, Switzerland, and the UK. And sleep apnea detection now rests comfortably in Colombia. And finally today, if you're an Apple Arcade subscriber, you've got 5 new games from which to choose today. Mac Rumors ran a piece nearly a month ago highlighting titles headed to the service today, Thursday, the 4th of December. New among the offerings, Subway Surfers Plus. That's an ad-free, cost-free version of the 13-year-old endless runner Subway Surfers. SpongeBob, Patty Pursuit 2 is a sequel to the side-scrolling original. Power Wash Simulator will have you power washing dirty things. Nothing kinky, just dirty. Cult of the Lamb Arcade Edition is a mobile version of the award-winning dungeon crawler. And Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Plus is a 3D fighting game based on the popular manga and anime series Naruto. Though it's called an arcade, no quarters required. A standalone subscription to Apple Arcade is $6.99 per month. It's also bundled with the Apple One bundles. Game on. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by OpenCase. Build your own holiday bundle and save today at theopencase.com. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSken. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, macOSken at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macosken.com. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Collect your tokens and let's get on to the next round.